Hi, I'm Lucy and welcome to Classics Girl Summer. Classics Girl Summer is a gender neutral term. It's a vibe, it's a mindset, it's a lifestyle, and it's my attempt to read as many classics as I can this summer and to take you along with me as part of my classics community. Reading and loving and sharing my love for classics has been a big staple of my adult life, but since I've been doing my university degree for the past few years, I definitely feel less connected than I have previously with the books that I'm reading. But now that I have finished my history degree, I'm looking forward to falling back in love with my favourite books again and to finally feeling like I am a reader once more and not just a reader of academic papers. This means that you'll be seeing me around lots more, and I'm looking forward to welcoming you into my online community, and hopefully you will join me for my Classics Girl Summer. I have a few goals for this summer. Number one, I want to rearrange my bookshelves. I want them to feel like they represent me more. I want to feel like all of my favourite books are on display. I just want to feel like when I look at my bookshelves and look around my bookish space that it feels like you're looking into my brain or my soul, because I feel like if you saw my soul, it would be full of books. So that is a really big, slightly overwhelming goal that I will be taking you along with, because I'm going to need to talk about it with someone. It's going to be a monumental task. I have hundreds of books that are basically representative of my adult book collection. I've been collecting all of these books since I was about 17, 18. I just want to get to a point where I'm happy with my bookshelves again, and I'm looking forward to getting started on that very, very soon. The other goal for this summer is to catch you up on everything that I have read so far this year, everything that I have bought this year. I'm going to be doing wrap-ups, book hauls. I'm going to be giving you all the recommendations, which I am so excited about. And then the third goal I have this summer is to launch my book. My new book, Real When I'm With You, comes out on the 3rd of July, and I'm so excited about it. This is my 4th published book, but it's only the 2nd book I have published when we aren't in the middle of a global pandemic and all the bookshops are shut. So it's a really special moment for me. It's my debut YA novel. It has an autistic main character and an ADHD love interest, and this really is the book of my heart and soul that I have put so much work into for the last few years. So it comes out soon, and I will also be taking you along on the publication journey as we reach these last few weeks before the book is out in the world. I've got lots of exciting things planned, and I'm looking forward to talking about the book more with you. But as a small aside, if you would like to support me and you would like to support the book, please do consider pre-ordering it. I will leave a link in the description. I'm doing signed and dedicated pre-orders which ship worldwide through Mr. B's Emporium, an independent bookshop, my favourite in Bath, but there are also other places that you can pre-order, and that is the number one best way that you can support me, but also how you can support any of your favourite authors. So I'm not going to talk about it non-stop, but you will see Real When I'm With You crop up a little bit. And then finally, the 4th goal of this summer is to read. I've got to write too, but I want to read. I want to keep reading some of the authors I have already discovered this year, and I want to go back to authors I really love. I'm so excited to feel like I have the headspace to read again, which I haven't as I have been doing my degree, trying to balance a big TBR pile and lots of academic papers and studying and writing essays. That has been very difficult, and I can definitely do a few things at the same time. I'm quite a good multitasker, but trying to read and trying to make YouTube videos at the same time as writing a book and doing a university degree was quite the challenge, and I wasn't brilliant at it at times, but it's been a lot of work. So now I'm looking forward to just having a lot more space in my brain to be creative and to also be able to communicate with all of you, which is one of my favourite things, so I cannot wait. I thought I would share with you some of the books that I am hoping to read in the coming weeks, which you will see featured in some upcoming videos. I'm so excited to read all of these. I've thought so carefully about the books that sound really fun and enjoyable to me, because that's what it is all about, finding the books that reignite your love for reading and make you want to read more and more. I find that once I've read one good book, I want to then read all of the good books, and I just get on a complete reading roll, which I do think is going to be the case this summer. So here here is my curated list, my little TBR, which actually isn't so little, but is super exciting. The book that I am currently reading and hope that I will finish reading this weekend is The Sea by Iris Murdoch, which is my first Iris Murdoch book. I am loving this so much, but when I started reading it, I thought I was going to hate it. I did not know how to feel. I was super confused. It's such an intense narrative that I felt overwhelmed by it. But the more that I read, the more I realised just how brilliant it is, and I am now gonna recommend it non-stop because it is incredible. So The Sea is set in the 1970s and was published in the 1970s. It actually won the Booker Prize, and I can see why. And it is told from the perspective of a man called Charles Arrowby, who is an actor-director who has left behind his life in London in order to move to a remote house that is falling apart by the sea. He looks out and all he sees is the sea, and he has gone out here to write his memoirs, and the book is basically his memoir. We are so in his head that it does feel very intense at times because he is not a nice man and never pretends to be either. During his life, he has had many women who he has treated appallingly. He has lived off his celebrity and used it to his advantage, and all of these people are sort of drawn to him, but he treats everybody in his life appallingly. And one of the things I was confused at the start of the book was his treatment of women. Having never read an Iris Murdoch book before, I was talking about it at the time, like, I'm not sure if it's the narrator who hates women. I can't decide if he is a misogynist or is it Iris Murdoch. But the more I've read of it, the more I've realised just how well crafted his narrative is, because there are so many bits we sort of see all of his life, these key moments in his life, and because he's telling his own life story with its own unreliable narration, its own biases, you learn as a reader to decode some of this, to break the narrative down and see behind it. And we get these really lovely moments of clarity when other characters come in and sort of poke holes in the way that he is telling his story. And mainly the book follows his first love, a woman called Hartley, who he left as a teenager. They had a very sort of chaste, pure relationship. That's how he describes it. And they were going to marry each other, but it never happened. Many, many decades have passed. They are now into their old age and they meet again, and Charles is super obsessive. This book is limerence at its most extreme. Imagine Heathcliff in Wuthering Heights, but it makes Heathcliff look like a lovely man who has never been obsessive at all. It is about jealousy, it is about obsession, it's about loving the idea of someone but ignoring the reality of them. And there are some beautiful lines, beautiful storytelling. One of the lines I loved that I underlined was, "Perhaps I would indeed, through her and through our old childish love, now irredeemably chaste, be enabled to become what I had hoped to become when I came away to the sea, pure in heart." So Charles uses Hartley as a way of sort of cleaning his own soul, but in the process descends into madness, and it is done so well. I love this. It will not be my last Iris Murdoch. Can't wait to see how it ends. It's all kicking off. I cannot wait. It's so good. Next up on the TBR is a collection of poetry. I bought this recently and I was so excited about it. I saw it in a bookshop and I didn't buy it at the time, but I couldn't stop thinking about it, so I had to go back to get it. This is There Lives a Young Girl in Me Who Will Not Die by Tove Ditlevsen, who was a Danish author. I recently read The Faces by her, which was again a super intense book that I was so obsessed with. I read it in a day, and ever since I have just wanted to read everything that she wrote, and Penguin recently released this translated edition of her poetry. This collection brings together poems that were published between 1939 and her death in 1978. So we span across a long period of time, and the book is structured so that you can very clearly see when the poems were published. So I'm looking forward to seeing the progression in her work. She writes beautifully about mental health, about these very intense intense feelings. Intense is the only word I can really use to describe her writing. It's sort of what I've been into lately, is these very intense narratives. And having had a flick through this collection, I'm excited, because there is, for example, 3 poems called Divorce 1, Divorce 2 and Divorce 3 that sort of charts different phases of divorce. So a lot of them are about love, about growing up, about mental health, and I find that she is incredibly beautiful, and there'll be a sort of twist at the end, a sort of dark turn, a sort of sadness to her writing too. I love her. I'm going to be reading this soon. I cannot resist. I feel like this is going to be one that I read slowly, or maybe read all at once and then keep returning to. I feel like I'm not going to be able to put this one down. We're going from one Tove to another. So this really is the two Tove summer. This is the summer book by Tove Jansson, who you may know because she is the creator of The Moomins. I have been visiting Tove Jansson's adult novels. I read Fair Play and I love that book so much. It is my favourite book of the year so far, and I just feel like all summer I will be talking about Tove Jansson and how much I adore her writing. I feel like, having heard so much about The Moomins, I didn't know what to expect from her adult fiction, but she writes very succinctly. She writes these sort of moments in characters' lives, so we never get sort of a full narrative. You're left sort of piecing stuff together from these beautiful vignettes. And Fair Play is such a special book to me because I read it quite early on when I met my girlfriend, and so it feels like quite a sentimental book to me, and I'm excited to read the summer book because it's another very sentimental narrative, whereas Fair Play follows 2 women who live together and have this extremely close relationship, the sort of closest relationship you can have on an emotional level. This is about a grandmother and her granddaughter and their relationship. Tove Jansson lived on a Finnish island, and so many of her books are set within the same setting, and so I feel like what's going to be really special about reading all of her books, which I'm hoping to do, is that you will see that continuity and be able to see how she's crafting the worlds that she also lived in herself. And I'm excited because I'm hoping to go to Finland in the late summer, autumn, so I feel like I will be reading lots of Tove and just be constantly talking about her, so expect the Tove love fest because it is happening. There is no denying it. I'm so excited to read this. Then on my TBR we have Hour of the Star by Clarice Lispector, a book that many of you have been telling me to read for years. I've actually started reading this one. I've only read a few pages, but I just know it's going to be beautiful. I opened the first page and there was immediately a line that I loved. I've actually underlined quite a lot in the first 2 pages, such as long as I have questions and no answers, I'll keep on writing, which is deeply relatable to me as a writer. A lot of the book actually concerns the practice of writing. So another line I loved was, "So that's why I'll try, contrary to my normal habits, to write a story with a beginning, middle and grand finale, followed by silence and falling rain." This follows a woman whose life is pieced together by our narrator. She lives in poverty in the Rio slums, and the way that it's described on the back of the book is how the narrator, in trying to direct this woman's fate, realises that for all her outward misery, she is inwardly free. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one, although I feel like even though it's a short book, it's going to take me much longer as I sort of take in the words and also constantly underline because it is so beautiful. And then I have decided that I will read The Dry Heart by Natalia Ginzburg. This has been on my shelf for a while and I suddenly decided that I needed to read it. I picked it up, I opened the first page, and it opens with our main character shooting her husband dead. And the book then details their unhappy marriage leading up to her eventually murdering him. It has the best opening. "Tell me the truth," I said. "What truth?" he echoed. He was making a rapid sketch in his notebook, and now he showed me what it was. A long train with a big cloud of black smoke swirling over it, and himself leaning out of a window to wave a handkerchief. I shot him between the eyes. That is how you open a book. It's one of those books that is quite short, and I'm really loving very quick but very impactful reads. I feel like it's not about the numbers for me. It's not about how many books I'm reading, but I'm finding that I'm just loving getting into these books that I sort of read them in 24 hours and then I sit there going like, what have I just read? That's so fun to me at the moment. Just for me, very much feels like the best kind of summer reading. I have a bit of a confession to make, and that is that I can no longer go into a bookshop without buying one of the Penguin Archive books. It's impossible. If I see them, I have to buy one. I'm going to end up buying all of these, and I don't even want to. Like, I realise that I shouldn't buy them all, but slowly, every time I visit a bookshop, I'm going to have the whole collection, and I'm going to forget what I've bought, and I'm going to have multiples. I can't stop. They're so good. I love this series. Again, I'm obsessed. I just cannot get over how perfect they are. I feel like they have been such a big publishing moment and have made me pick up authors that I haven't read yet, made me think about authors that I want to read more from. I think they are amazing. Conceptually, I feel like these are some of the best of these sorts of Penguin editions that have been released in a long time, and I'm a big fan of like the little black classics, but this takes that concept to a whole new level. So my plan for these is to read a few at a time, to do like a reading vlog, to share my thoughts on a few of them in a video, and then keep doing that over the summer. So I won't go into detail about all of the ones I've got, but here are some of the highlights. I'm really looking forward to reading The New Dress by Virginia Woolf, which is a collection of her short stories. I'm a big fan of Virginia Woolf, as you may know. I'm also going to do a whole Virginia Woolf video soon, which I can't wait to film. But I'm excited because this has her Mrs. Dalloway short story, and I've never read it before, so that's the one that I'm most excited to read. I've also picked up No Coward Soul Is Mine by Emily Brontë. Of course, I have already read all of this, but not in this edition, so I'm looking forward to reading this and looking at sort of the quality of the choices, whether I would have put them in that order, that sort of thing. I feel like it's going to be a nerdy Brontë review when I get to this one, but I love Emily's poetry, so I never need any excuse to read it. I've got a new to me author. This is Sarah Orne Jewett's The Country of the Pointed Firs. I've got books like Transformation by Mary Shelley. There is Gertrude Stein's Paris, France, who I'd like to read some stuff for. I've never read any Gertrude Stein before. Then we have my new favourite, Tove Ditlevsen, The Umbrella, which is a collection of her short stories. I also have Jane Austen's The History of England by a partial, prejudiced and ignorant historian, which I read many years ago. I feel like I talked about it in a video when I was like 15 or something, so I don't know if it's still up. Don't go looking for it. Nobody wants to see that. But I haven't got this edition, and there are drawings in here by Cassandra, which I'm really excited to see at the same time as I read it. I've also got The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin, which I'm excited to read because I recently read Giovanni's Room and loved that. So I feel like you're going to hear a lot more about James Baldwin soon too. And then finally, I've got Clarice Lispector. This is The Burned Sinner and The Harmonious Angels, another short story collection. So that's what I've got so far, but it is a constantly growing collection because, like I said, I have a bit of an issue with buying them because I just cannot resist. So you'll see a whole video dedicated to these. That's what I've got planned in the next few weeks because I'm just going to spend like a whole week reading some of these and I cannot wait. Then I have two books that I'm hoping to read back to back because I would like to compare them in some way. I feel like they work well as companion novels or as a shared reading experience. So the first one is a book that I saw recommended on TikTok. I haven't seen it talked about a lot, but I saw someone talking about it, and within about 30 seconds of watching the video, I decided that I needed to go out and buy it. This is It Can't Happen Here by Sinclair Lewis, and this was published in 1935, and it is about an alternate America where fascism has taken over. On the back it says this is Sinclair Lewis's chilling 1935 bestseller. It's a story of Buzz Windrip, who promises poor, angry voters that he will make America proud and prosperous once more, but takes the country down a far darker path. As the new regime slides into authoritarianism, newspaper editor Doremus Jessup can't believe it will last. But is he right? This cautionary tale of liberal complacency in the face of populist tyranny shows it really can happen here. And I'd like to read it alongside a new release from Persephone Books. This is Crooked Cross by Sally Carson, which has been everywhere. I feel like the press coverage from this has been brilliant. I've seen lots of people talk about it. It feels extremely prescient, and that's why people are talking about it so much and why I feel like more people will be reading it soon. Sally Carson was an English author who spent time with friends in Bavaria. This was written in 1934 but is set during 6 months from 1932 across to 1933, and it is talking about the rise of the Nazi Party, about a possible future. Of course, as a modern reader, we know what happens, but Sally Carson didn't. It was all a prediction that would come true. In the introduction to this edition, Laura Freeman says, "Crooked Cross is a remarkable book. It paints a political and psychological portrait of a nation and of a family. It is propulsively told and beautifully realised in its detail. This is a book that will stay with you. It is a book that asks what you would do if the world went crooked, if the people you loved were persecuted, if the freedoms you believe inviolable were destroyed." Moritz's words echo through each chapter. I wonder how much courage you've got. Above all, it is extraordinarily prescient about the tragedy that was overtaking Germany in 1933. I'm so pleased that Persephone have reissued this, and so pleased that it's getting so much attention too. And I just feel like as a reading experience, it's going to be fascinating reading both of these books alongside each other, dealing with very similar topics, very similar themes, written within the same decade. And yet I also wonder how they will tackle those same themes differently. And finally, on the TBR, I have selected A Pair of Blue Eyes by Thomas Hardy. I love Thomas Hardy and I've really been craving his writing. I haven't read anything since I read The Mayor of Casterbridge last summer, and I just feel like I've got to read at least one Thomas Hardy every year. There are some authors that I try to do that with. Thomas Hardy is one, Edith Wharton is another. I just can't stay away from their writing for too long. But A Pair of Blue Eyes is a little bit different to some of his other books. It's not set in his fictional Wessex, for one. It is set in Cornwall, and Thomas Hardy spent a lot of time in Cornwall as a young man. It's where he met his first wife, Emma. And so I feel like A Pair of Blue Eyes is going to be slightly autobiographical, or certainly inspired by his own original love story. We have in here, for example, a character who is an architect like Thomas Hardy was. We have a man of letters. There is a love triangle in this book. I don't know if it's going to be my favourite Thomas Hardy. I feel like I've already got lots of my favourites. So I feel like it's going to be classic Thomas Hardy, lots of drama, lots of intrigue, lots of beautiful writing, and some heartbreak along the way too. Do let me know any of the books that are on your summer TBRs, because I would love to know. I'd love to get more ideas for my own TBR, which hopefully once I've worked through this pile of books, I will be able to add some more and read lots more after some of these. But also let me know if you've read any of these and what you thought of them. I'd love in particular to know if you've read any Finnish literature, because I'd love more recommendations. And I'd also like more recommendations for Clarice Lispector and Brazilian literature in general. Those are the two areas where I'm like, I feel like I want to read more, but I'm not sure where to go next. So those are the authors in particular I'd love to know more of if you have any recommendations. I feel so lucky to have a big pile of books to work through. I kind of feel like a teenager again, when I would just have the whole summer in front of me. And yes, I have more responsibilities now as an adult, but there is still something about that feeling of like endless summer days and a big pile of books to work through that I love. I need to finish reading this book today. It has to happen. I'm about 150 pages from the end. I've read about 35 pages already this morning. So much is happening, but also my feelings towards this book right from the beginning have been like, I've either loved it, I have hated it, there have been in-betweens, I've constantly been fluctuating, and I'm just ready to race towards the end of the book now. Everything is leading up to this moment. There's lots of drama kicking off, stuff is happening. I'm so into it, but also it's felt like a marathon read. I think because the narration is so out there because everything the main character does is so deplorable. I hate him so much, and everything that he has done. He has not done a single good thing or a good deed or had a single nice thought throughout the entirety of this book. He isn't even like an evil villain. It's not even like that. You're not even following like a villainous character, but also you kind of are. He's just a deeply flawed human being who makes very questionable decisions, very uncomfortable decisions. And I think it's the discomfort I feel towards this book that is making me go like, I need to finish reading it today, because sitting with it is very uncomfortable. It's very eerie. It's just uncomfortable is the best word that I can use to describe this as a reading experience. And yet there's so much in it that just takes my breath away as I am reading it, that you sort of want to take the time with it, but time itself in the book sort of passes differently, and there are acknowledgements of time passing that don't quite match up with the pacing of the book, which again adds to this feeling of discomfort, of disquietude. So Iris Murdoch sort of knows what she's doing, and I trust that she knows what she's doing, but I think some of this last section has felt a little bit of a drag. The book is structured in a way, so like the first maybe 150 to 200 pages are one chapter called Prehistory, and once we pass that point and get into the history chapters, about every chapter is then 100 pages long. So they're long chapters. There's a lot going on, lots of like big moments in the book that are like, whoa, I just need to take a second. I sort of feel like Iris Murdoch is a Victorian writer writing in the 1970s. She takes a lot from some of my favourite Victorian writers and yet puts this very modern spin on everything that she's doing, and so the narration feels very sort of Victorian standard. There are some sort of melodramatic moments that I think take from sensation novels. She has the intensity of something like Wuthering Heights, and then you have this play around with the narration style, and so as a reader you don't quite get any moment in the book to rest. There was this beautiful moment in the section that I just read, which I have underlined, and I love it. It says, which I think really sums up the book: "Time can divorce us from the reality of people. It can separate us from people and turn them into ghosts. Or rather, it is we who turn them into ghosts or demons." And then our narrator, Charles, replies, "She is real to me, more real than you are. How can you insult an unhappy, suffering person by calling her a ghost? I'm not calling her a ghost. She is real, as human creatures are, but what reality she has is elsewhere. She does not coincide with your dream figure. You were not able to transform her. You must admit you tried and failed." The ghost of the past definitely haunts this novel. I think if we skip forward into the future, I can see how authors such as Sarah Perry in The Essex Serpent might have been inspired by a book like this. There are elements of the supernatural, or is it the supernatural, that run through. There are these hallucinatory dream moments that really sort of plague the novel and plague our narrator, and so you're not sure what's real and what's dream, what's fact, what's fiction. So I need to finish it. I need to know what happens in the ending. It's all getting good. It's getting really, really good. But I just know that if I spend any long reading it, I think I might start resenting it, because I will then need a total palate cleanser of a book. Maybe something short, maybe something that will be a total departure from this. I can't quite deal emotionally with these feelings of like, I love it, I hate it, I don't know how to feel towards this book that I'm currently experiencing. Like, I love it, I hate it in equal measure. I feel so passionately about it. I want everybody to read it, but also I keep having these moments where my breath is taken away and I can't quite deal with this book. I need to find out what happens. I need to find out what happens. It has taken me over a month. It took me the entire month of May and some of June, but finally I have conquered the sea. And it definitely feels like trying to control, trying to harness the sea reading this book. It has been a monster of a task, and I needed like a good night to sleep on my feelings to be able to process how I feel about this book. I loved it. There were points where I seriously hated it. I could not wait to finish it. I couldn't wait to be done with it. But ultimately, I think it is incredible. I am just as obsessed with this as our main character Charles is with his first love, Hartley. I will not be able to stop thinking about it even now that I finished it, and I still can't quite believe everything that happened in this book. The ending was intense is the word I keep coming back to with this book, because you're so into the narration, so into this world. It's all you can sort of live and breathe. I'm still slightly speechless. I thought I'd processed, but I don't think I have processed it. I still feel like I will be in the coming days, even weeks. I'm gonna keep sort of going back to it and looking at it. There was this line towards the end which I really loved, which I think sort of sums up the book perfectly, and it's no spoiler because I feel like there are events that you can spoil in this book, but it relies so heavily on the narration, and so much of that narration remains stable in its instability throughout the book. So the line is, "Of course, this chattering diary is a facade, the literary equivalent of the everyday smiling face which hides the inward ravages of jealousy, remorse, fear, and the consciousness of irretrievable moral failure," which I think so perfectly encapsulates the major themes of this book. Jealousy, remorse, fear, the consciousness of irretrievable moral failure. This is a book about moral failure. There is no moral at the end of the story. It's no spoiler to say so. This is a book that often will have you cringing, will have you sort of screaming, why have you done that? Why would you think that? How have you not learnt your lesson in 600 pages nearly? How has nothing changed? And yet so much has changed. So one of the things I've done is I have just gone through my shelves, because I have this whole collection of Iris Murdoch. These were the vintage classics that came out in 2019, I think, for her centenary. So I've got a few more of her books to read, and I also have A Severed Head. My mum read this a few years ago, and so we just had a copy of it. So I dug it out. I think I'd stolen it at some point. So I have A Severed Head, I have The Black Prince, I also have A Fairly Honourable Defeat, The Sandcastle, and Under the Net. So this is going to keep me super busy. I feel like I might try and read another one this year, because I would like to have that point of comparison. I feel like all of them are going to be that sort of quite obsessive about love, about affairs, about intrigue, about relationships between people, which I think Iris Murdoch does so well. She sort of points out the worst in people, and she also has a lot of humour in her writing. There are moments from The Sea that I look back on and I'm like, that's taken me aback, because so much of this narration is terrible. I hate being stuck in this world, and yet this other character has come in, and in one line I'm laughing, and how has that happened? So I'm very excited to dive into some of these. My next reading plan is to read Hour of the Star by Clarice Lispector. I have actually started reading this already. I am 25 pages in of 77 pages, so I actually haven't got that much more to go. I'm about a third of the way through. Really enjoying this, but I'm going to save that for another reading vlog. And I'm also hoping in the next week to read The Haunted Boy by Carson McCullers. I've never read anything from. This is Southern Gothic. This is a collection of short stories. I think there are 3 in here. Never read any Carson McCullers. Gonna see what I think, and then if I enjoy this, I will read some more of her work. But thank you so much for kicking off Classics Girl Summer with me. I'm so excited to get stuck into my summer reading, to take you along on the journey with me, and hopefully you will follow along, and I'll pick up lots more of you along the way. In the next few weeks, in the next few videos, I'll be talking a bit more about my exciting plans for the classics community. So I'm really excited to share that with you, and I'm just so happy to be here and so happy to be able to share all of these amazing books with you. So thank you. I'll see you soon. Happy reading!